Hello, hello. Have we got everybody in the room? So here are us, the long-lasting people, the ones who've stayed to the very, very end. Yay. Okay, round of applause for us, because we're here, right to the end of the conference. So here we are, at our final closing ceremony. I know that everybody has had a huge amount to take in for the last 3 days. Thank you for all your energy. Can I just tell you, you truly, every year, the Zero Conference audience or delegates, you are just the kindest group of people, and you are so patient and so giving. So thank you very much for me to have been able to speak with you. You've been so good to me, so thank you very, very much. You're just so great to deal with. And so just to finish off today, we're going to have 3 sections. We're going to have the World Future Council and the ESL Foundation to just do a sort of thank you to each other. We're going to have a very short panel discussion chaired by Ingrid and Jessica, and then we are going to have an interview with His Honourable Justice Bernstein, and then final remarks from Martin Essel. So, to begin our proceedings, I would like to invite up to the front, not to the stage, Martin Essel. Martin Essel, where are you? Oh, here you are, great. We should know each other very well. We could do a duet at this point. So we're looking for Martin and we're looking for Michael Famebeck. Now, we do need to give this man a round of applause as well. I mean, this guy, seriously? These two are a great combination, Bonnie and Clyde. Okay, we'd love to have Ingrid. Ingrid, where are you? Another big round of applause for Ingrid. The people who have worked so hard for years and years and years behind this. So, Ingrid, and where is lovely Alexander Vandal? Here we are. Great. Now, you're going to have to share your mics between each other. So I'm going to give you that next mic. Thank you. And there we go.
Yes, thank you, Caroline, and hello again to everybody who remained here till the end of the conference. I'm very happy that you are all here. And especially, I do want to say a very warm and intensive thank you to Mrs. HEINDORF, Ingrid HEINDORF, and Mrs. Wandel. The ESL Foundation, you certainly know, and the World Future Council have worked together now for some 6 years on the Zero project. The World Future Council with Jakob von Uexküll and you personally have been with us since 2011 and have contributed invaluable to the development of the Zero project. Over these years, Ingrid HEINDORF and her team in Geneva have researched many innovative policies, and these policies have provided insight into a wealth of legislation, directives, guidelines, and more. They have changed for the better not only the law, but also the lives of millions of people with disabilities. As the Zero project has grown, the contribution to the World Future Council in helping to develop our partnership and the network have been enormous. And Ingrid HEINDORF herself, her personality, her charm, her energy, they have been a significant driving force behind the Zero project and the Zero project conference. Back in 2007, my wife Gerda and I brought all our social entrepreneurship activities under one umbrella of the ESL Foundation. Now, after these 6 years, we and the World Future Council have agreed that it is the time likewise for us to bring now all activities and research around innovative policies under the umbrella of the Zero project and its team here in Vienna under the lead of Michael Famebeck. So, at the end of March this year, after this conference and after the side event of the meeting of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, together with Innovative Practices, we in Vienna will be taken over the job of researching innovative policies. We promise solemnly to continue your great work on innovative policies. As a small symbol of the high esteem in which we hold both you and your work and of our friendship for going forward, please let me give each of you, as well as Jakob von Uexküll, As a symbol, present an exclusive art print selected special from our art collection, one art print from the German artist Rudolf Schönwald. This is the red one. Okay, and for the two ladies, each of you will receive an art print from Rico Gaston called James First, an artist from the US living in Boston, for Ingrid and for you, Mrs. Wandel. Thank you so much for the very good cooperation, and I would like to say thank you, and hopefully you will have fun, and you will think about us and Zero Project and us also in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dankeschön. Vielen herzlichen Dank. Ja? Dankeschön. And hand over. Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's the hand over.
Hand over. Everybody, both of you receives one. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We just take a nice picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's so lovely. We're so grateful for this wonderful gift. That's so lovely.
Okay.
So, now it's the time for the World Future Council also to say a special warm thanks and very warm welcome to all of you also here for the concluding session. On behalf of the World Future Council, we really would like to thank Mr. Essel for his leadership. It is him who founded the Essel Foundation with his wife, and it is him who also took the leadership for creating the Zero Project. We've been cooperating for 6 years. We also had now 3 successful award ceremonies, and we were very delighted when the Essel Foundation approached World Future Council, also asking us to undertake work on best and innovative policies on enhancing the rights of persons with disabilities. So that means that this important work is now also part of the World Future Council. So it's a very important topic. It's thanks to the Essel Foundation, your leadership, that we have seen the significance of this topic, that it is very important to identify best policies to improve the topic. And obviously, we really also would like now to express our gratitude. We understand that you will be, you have a new, nice office here in Vienna. So we think that together we really have achieved something very incredible with our joint work. And we had a very strong and productive cooperation, joining forces for a world without barriers. And as Daniela Bass said in her opening speech, partnership is a key driver for change. And moreover, we could not have had better partners than you. So please, Mr. Essel, stay as you are, as forward-thinking, open-minded entrepreneur, change maker, with a heart at the right place. And seeing that you have a new office, we thought you probably still have a free wall for a photo of you and our founder, who much regrets that he cannot here with us personally. So this is for you with your wife and our founder, Jakob von Uexküll, who is also founder of the Right Livelihood Award and the Alternative Nobel Prize. So that is,
absolutely.
Yes?
Thank you so much.
But we also, we also want to thank, of course, Mr. Famebeck.
Yes.
So, Mr. Famebeck, please also stay as you are, very dynamic, progressive leader of the Zero Project. We also hope you still have some space on your wall in the office, because we have a picture of the team of the Zero Project, because, of course, the Zero Project wouldn't be as successful as it is with the team and the excellent cooperation we had. So we are very confident that the Zero Project will continue to thrive and to develop, and we look forward to further progress, to further enhance the lives and the rights of persons with disabilities. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay? So we just take one picture together.
Yes.
One picture.
Can we cue the Judy Human video here just in the background while we're having our photographs taken, if that's okay, guys? So this is the Judy Human film that we weren't able to run properly. yesterday, but we have it all sorted. So we're going to run this film.
Hello, my name is Judy Human, and I'm very pleased to have the chance to speak with you today, albeit by a video. I want to thank the ESSL Foundation and the Zero Project for their continued commitment to a world without barriers for disabled people across all areas of life, including in the important realm of employment. The importance of work and employment in a person's life cannot be overstated. Work is essential to financial independence, and across cultures, an individual's ability to work and contribute to their community is a source of social status and individual self-worth. This is no less true whether an individual has a disability or not. For all its importance, though, equal access to decent work continues to be elusive for too many disabled people around the world. I want to take a few minutes to discuss some of the key factors that I believe are important to address if we are to achieve the goal of true equality of employment for persons with disabilities. First, true commitment to inclusive education, including in the realm of vocational training. Countries are increasing their focus and investment in vocational training, and indeed lifelong learning for all learners. In too many countries, though, disabled students are not included in mainstream education or vocational training. Parallel systems are all too common, and the typical result is the use of substandard curricula, lowered standards of achievement, and fewer prospects for employment in the formal economy. We know that separate but equal does not work, and it is essential that we not perpetuate models that we know to be ineffective or less effective. Disabled people must have the equal opportunity to obtain the qualifications necessary for us to be competitive in the job market. Second, the business community is increasingly recognizing the importance of diversity within the workforce. They are more seriously addressing the need to employ people from a range of backgrounds, including people with disabilities. Such commitment is necessary and welcome. However, we need businesses of all sizes to understand how to put a disability lens on their work. We need to better leverage existing resources so that employers know where to find and how to implement effective practical approaches to hiring, retaining, and advancing employees with disabilities. Conferences such as this provide a useful opportunity for focus on these issues, but daily engagement over the long term is essential. The Job Accommodations Network, or JAN in the United States, is a great example of an initiative which aims to provide ready access to free, expert, and confidential guidance on workplace accommodations and questions about disability employment. The International Labor Organization, or the ILO's, Global Business and Disability Network offers opportunities for continued engagement of companies and employers' organizations. Chambers of Commerce in many countries also have a key role to play in providing necessary leadership and raising the profile of disability-inclusive employment. In all of these activities, collaboration with civil society is essential. This brings me to my third point, the need to collaborate with civil society and disabled people's organizations in particular. We have seen how essential the disability community was to the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and to adoption of strong disability rights legislation at the national and local levels. We need to take that same energy back to the grassroots level. Disability advocates need to be substantively knowledgeable in order to provide the necessary expertise to employers and other stakeholders addressing employment of disabled people. DPOs already find qualified disabled people to work in our own organizations, and we need to be connecting other employers with those same talent pools. We also need to be working in coalition with other organizations promoting the employment of women, youth, and entrepreneurs and others. With the rise of automation and other developments, the world of work is changing for everyone. Disabled people must be a part of the larger dialogue of these issues, or we will continue to be left behind. Finally, we all need higher expectations. Employers need to know that we can help them to identify qualified people for many of their job openings, and that they can and should expect employees with disabilities to be able to perform at the same level as other employees, in some cases with accommodations. As disabled people, we must have high expectations for ourselves. When I was denied my first job as a teacher, I had to decide whether or not to fight for that job. I had to learn and to choose to believe in myself. Had I not, I might never have become a teacher or a lifelong disability rights advocate. We have demonstrated that when we work collectively, we can do amazing things, such as the adoption of the CRPD and inclusion of disability in the SDGs. We must continue to develop the knowledge, capacity, and tenacity to drive an inclusive agenda in education and employment at the national and local levels. We must move away from individual pilot projects and move to scale up what we are learning from these projects. We must demand that governments include disability in their annual budgets. We must work collaboratively with everyone wanting to improve the economic capacity of their countries. I wish you the best of luck with the remainder of the conference and encourage you to make most of your time with other people, talking to them, learning from them, and keeping these conversations going long after you go home and leave Vienna. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad. Am I on? Am I on? Oh, I've run out of battery. Am I on? Oh, I am. I'm so glad we got to hear words from Judy. She is a legend, and I know she really, really wanted to be here with us, but just to have her just say it at the end, I think is a perfect place, actually. And I think what Judy said is that collectively what we can do together, and that's what's been so important about the Zero Project and the Zero Project Conference. And it's a lovely way for us to end this evening, to see the collective different opinions from a group of people who have been with us throughout the last 3 days, from all different expertise and backgrounds. So we are delighted to bring onto the stage to co-chair this final session and perspectives on what the conference has meant and what is the look to the future. So we're inviting Ingrid back onto the stage again, and Jennifer Fitzsimmons from the European Foundation Centre to co-chair this last session with us, and I'm going to invite them to bring our final panelists onto the stage. So Ingrid and Jennifer, up you go. Oh, do you want me to call out the names? Oh, yeah, no? I think she's actually pulling her panelists up. So this is Kathryn. Yes, Kathryn's come up. Here we all are. Great. Thank you for helping me not see.
Okay, great. Let's start. So, like Caroline said, we would like to hear a little bit. We invited some experts and Zero Project partners to share with us a few takeaways of this year's Zero Project conference. To my right, Eric Guozhong ZHANG will start by providing an international organization's perspective. He currently works as a senior officer for social policy and development at the UN Secretariat for the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Eric, please share with us your main takeaways, but please don't exceed 1 or 1.5 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. So we have been, I've been rewarding experience in these early days, and thanks to and congratulations to the organizer for this very fruitful discussion over these 3 days. I request that I'm going to present very briefly my observation and some key and take-home message. Based on my participation in the session, particularly the policymaker sessions, I think it's issues can be and I noticed these 2 lines of the discussions and the observation where we are around these 2 lines. First of all, on the macro levels, and I noticed actually experts and inform us and lots of findings and good practices and policy options, useful tools, and also innovative solutions ideas regarding how to increase opportunity for persons with disability against this discrimination, make sure that the full inclusion in the work market. Because of timing, it's quite challenging. I think just list a number of these policy tools and ideas I observed. First of all, the universal approach to social policy and social development, and by provision, basic services such as education, training, social protection floors available and accessible to persons with disability, which is critical to realize the internationally agreed human rights and also SDGs. Second point is we need to have a robust anti-discrimination legislation and their enforcement. Third point is accessibility and removal of barriers to level our playground to make sure these universal social and public services do be accessible and available and effective. And we need also targeted measures and interventions so that, including affirmative actions, as I heard from speakers in the previous days, they are helpful to readdress these traditional discrimination and disadvantage experienced by persons with disability, particularly in the field of work. Finally, institution mechanism must be inclusive to persons with disability to enable us, a person with disability, meaningful participation and full inclusion at all levels, and also facilitate a multi-stakeholder partnership and international cooperation. I have also a second point is at the macro level. I feel it is very important to have, I think, a reflection beyond the employment itself, because we are now talking about the exclusion and discrimination. It's beyond this workplace itself, employment itself. So we need to think about, I believe, and I heard quite lots of interesting ideas and experience, talking about this revisit this relationship between government and market, and really the specific roles the government should play in order to promote inclusion. So I feel that definitely we need a sound market. But of course, I felt and I heard it's not enough. We need to see the interplay of these 2 forces, visible and invisible, which means the government and also market. This interplay in order to make sure the inclusion could happen. So I feel that and I heard this, the cost of inclusion and the benefits of inclusion has not yet, but must be better understood and appreciated by governments, by our stakeholders who are playing very important roles in this regard, particularly in the context now achieving this sustainable development for all. This is a must, I feel. So in one word, I have to say the interplay between this responsible government and sound market, these 2 forces should be seen and be explored. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric, for sharing your perspective with us. It was very interesting. I'd now like to invite George R. Ayed, who will provide an international perspective also. He is the current secretary of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is convening several times in Geneva to review the implementation by state parties of the CRPD. Over to you, George.
Yes, thank you so much. At the very beginning, I was very impressed that, at the opening of this 3-day conference, you mentioned that this was about the implementation of the right to work and employment and implementation of Article 27 of the Convention. So I'm very pleased that during the whole 3 days, I mean, all the interventions were right-focused. And it seems to me that, I mean, when we talk about the rights approach, we tend to think that this is some very theoretical element, but in fact, I mean, it is operational, and it has a cross-cutting issues in all the innovative practices and policies. And I would like to recall some of the elements that emerged during the 3-day dialogue. You mentioned them, so this is kind of recollection of what you have already mentioned. Persons with disabilities are at the center of laws and policies as holders of human rights on an equal basis with others, not just, I mean, recipients of compassion or pity. You have repeatedly mentioned that the focus of all policy intervention should be the removal of barriers. We are not trying to fix individuals, but we try to remove barriers. You have addressed the issue of inequalities, the imperative of bridging inequality gaps and leaving no one behind. You have also considered the respect to the diversity of persons with disabilities and addressed the particular challenges and barriers faced by the persons with psychosocial disabilities, with intellectual disabilities, deaf persons. And some of you have also addressed the issue of intersectionality between disability and gender. I will go quickly through the other elements you mentioned. Meaningful participation of persons with disabilities in decision-making processes, as well as in the design, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of policies and programs. Partnership was acknowledged as a key factor. And besides the main role of the state parties, the involvement of the private sector was also emphasized. The role of the family was also underlined. Awareness raising, continuous training and capacity building at all levels and encompassing all actors was mentioned as promoting a key component in promoting inclusive employment. The change of mindset was repeatedly mentioned as critical for achieving full inclusion. Incentives and affirmative actions measures were referred to as tools for promoting inclusive employment and to tackle discrimination. Promoting a rights-based culture in the workplace for persons with disabilities was also referred to, along with the necessity to implement accountability mechanisms. Mainstreaming of the rights of persons with disabilities in the whole employment cycle, from designing training programs to build capacity of persons with disabilities to gain employment, to hiring practices, decent conditions of work, decent salaries, as well as the promotion and work retention of persons with disabilities. The provision of support and reasonable accommodation. We listen about the importance of striving for inclusive education systems, vocational training, and lifelong learning. We also listen about the imperative of making mainstream services accessible. I'm just finalizing right now. Last but not least, everyone agreed on that the goal should be the full inclusion of persons with disabilities in the open labor market and the end of segregation. All of these elements of the rights-based approach are equally important, and human rights-based approach is a tool for assessing whether our policies, programs, and interventions are compliant with the Convention. Let me finalize by saying that we should always bear in mind that in our interventions in promoting inclusive employment, we are called by the Convention to respect the self-determination of persons with disabilities, their autonomy and control of their daily decisions, as well as their rights, will, preferences, and dignity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George, for reminding us of such a range of issues that has been covered over the last 3 days of the conference. Since we would also like to hear the perspective of a company that has taken part in the Zero Project Conference, we've invited Kathryn Townsend to share her views. She's currently the head of customer and client accessibility at Barclays Bank from the United Kingdom. Thank you, Kathryn.
Thank you. For anyone that was in the last session, you would have just seen the video that Susan played of our Talking ATMs ad. It was quite serendipitous that she played that, and I had no idea that she was going to play that. It was great to see it again, although I've probably seen it 500 times. The reason it was funny to see that is because it was that very service, the introduction of Talking ATMs for blind people, that brought me to this stage 4 years ago when we won the innovative practice for the Zero Project 4 years ago. it made me reflect on what I'd seen in the evolution of the Zero project over that time. And actually the business day, which was held on Wednesday, it was absolutely fantastic to see the range of businesses represented around the table and how that had grown over time, because I do believe, and it's been said many times here this week, the value of business in driving this agenda. In the last session as well, there was a joke about the fact that it was called a live session. And it reminded me of a recent complaint that I was, unfortunately had to deal with in the bank. I was speaking to a customer who was very upset that she had been told by a customer service representative upon seeing that she was a disabled customer, but don't worry, I'll treat you like a human. And he was saying this from a very, well-intended perspective. And it showed me that although we are doing a lot in this space, which is great, there's so much more to do. And until I receive 0 complaints like that, our work isn't done. But the value, and I'll just bring this back to the topic of employment, the value of having more disabled people and true inclusion of disabled people across businesses working alongside able-bodied all together in an inclusive environment. You cannot put a value on that, and I think this week's conference has really reiterated the opportunity and the benefit to me. If I have a disabled staff member sitting alongside an able-bodied staff member, I won't need to train them to tell them that you don't say, it's okay, I'll treat you like a human. I won't need to train my digital team why it's important to make sure that websites are accessible with screen readers. They will see and experience these things for themselves. And I think through true inclusion, we can achieve that. And I'm really looking forward to the next 4 years with the Zero project.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathryn, for sharing your perspective. Now we would like to hear also from the academic side to conclude our review. We invited human rights lawyer Eliana Rosas Aguilar from Peru. She has formerly worked with the Ministry of Labor and Employment Promotion in Peru and is now a researcher at the University of London. She helped us also a lot with nominations of practices and policies this year. Eliana.
Hi all, thank you to the Zero Project and all of the participants for these wonderful days. I would like to share my favorite lessons, quotes and remarks from the conference. I try to cover all of it. I'll do my best to put this together. As a disclaimer, due to limited time here, for proper citations to the authors, please see my Twitter account. So first, let's start. According to the superhuman effect, if persons with disabilities are given opportunities, they can be anything, even superheroes. They're our Turkish friends. Vocational training with a low expectation for persons with disabilities must change. Internships, mentoring programs, and summer jobs are effective examples for this shift. We should focus not only on training disabled people, but also on employers. Certainly, we all need training and disability awareness to advance disability inclusion in the workforce. Banking and disability are not incompatible. Microfinancing for self-employment of disabled women are the way to advance their economic inclusion. The smartphone exclusion is real. Technology can meaningfully enhance independent living and job opportunities for disabled people. We don't need Teleton anymore. The structural dimension for the labor discrimination that disabled people face needs to be tackled with comprehensive public policy. The well-being principle in the Ecuadorian constitution offers room for this. This is a special mention to our South America delegation. Gracias, Chile, Ecuador, y Peru. Disability brings creativity and innovation to the workplace. We need to see beyond the disability, offer appropriate support, would increase job opportunities for persons with intellectual disabilities. The AAA from Lebanon, attitudes, accessibility, and accommodations can drive the pathway for labor inclusion of disabled people. University must be inclusive of disabled students and provide support to place them in the labor market. We need more disabled academics. For this to happen, partnership among the government, businesses, and universities is necessary. Last and not least, definitely my favorite, out all of the problems in the world, why does disability matter? Because we are celebrating the way we are created, looking forward to a world without barriers, in which our spirits and our souls have no bounds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eliana, for these takeaways, very important messages. We can all be superheroes. Indeed, we are superheroes, I think. So, quick glimpse into Zero Project activities in the coming months. We would like, of course, and we will, promote the Zero Project report and the results of the conference at all levels. At the international level, we will be certainly present at the UN Conference of State Parties to the SCRPD, which is being held this time in New York from 13th to 15th of June. And very soon, on the 17th of March 2017, we will be holding our traditional side event at the UN Human Rights Council, again in cooperation with Permanent Mission of Austria and in the International Disability Alliance, as well as other permanent missions. And then, of course, yes, the Zero Project topic 2018, it will be accessibility. So we all know accessibility is a precondition. It's really at the core of the Zero Project, and it will be focusing on Article 9, so including built environment, access to transport, access to ICT, and to services available to the public. So soon there will be the call for nominations. We count on your input, spread it through to your networks. That would be wonderful to receive more nominations than ever of policies and practices that really work.
We have invited 2 accessibility experts to share some insights of their work. First, we will listen to Dr. Victor Pineda, who is an urban planner, a social entrepreneur, a filmmaker, and a globally recognized human rights advocate. He also wears many hats, including being the co-chair of the group of disability partners engaged at UN Habitat 3, the International City Summit that was just held in Quito a few months ago. He is also president of GATES, president of World Enabled, and co-chair for the Disability Inclusive and Accessible Urban Development Network. He will speak to us via video, so let's hear what he has to say.
So we would need the video.
Thank you all for having me join you at this closing session as we look ahead, we look to the future. We've covered a lot of ground when it comes to employment and thinking about innovations and moving more people to meaningful and rewarding jobs. I think there's a lot of breakthroughs that are happening. I think what we're seeing more and more of is an opportunity to think about the way our cities work and to think about the local implementation of the CRPD and how the CRPD and the 2030 agenda with the Sustainable Development Goals are actually going to be implemented by city governments. That's why I was so honored to have served as the co-chair of the Disability Inclusive and Accessible Urban Development Network. This is DIU network was set up to bring disability community around the world and all of our organizations together by having folks with expertise in accessibility, urban development, universal design work together. The DIU networks really worked together over the course of 6 months to impact the development of this international agreement that was being developed called Habitat 3. Habitat 3 is the 3rd international UN conference on sustainable urban development. And this was the first kind of time that the international community came together since the launching of the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda, to actually put into place a framework to guide the growth of cities over the next 20 years. So the DIU network was this hub that brought all these groups together and then disseminated and collected resources that allowed us to be present during key aspects of the negotiation. And we were able to increase the references to people with disabilities from only 3 references to actually 1 reference in one of the early draft documents to 16 references. And we weren't just a comma after another group of people. We actually had a whole standalone paragraph ensuring that the rights of people with disabilities had been incorporated in every aspect of this global agreement, including accessible digital technologies, including work, including government services, on top of it, accessibility to the built environment, and transportation, and emergency response services, and so on. So I think what we're finding is when we come together and we create innovative partnerships where we leverage our resources and put the expertise at the disposal of the broader community, we can really create great things. So as we look ahead to next year's conference of the Zero Project, we're going to be also engaging further with accessibility. We'll be looking at some of the most innovative approaches to accessibility. And I think we should also be looking, and we will be looking at, how technology is being deployed in an urban setting. And so I'm super excited to share with you that over the last year, my organization, World Enabled, had partnered with G3ICT to develop a toolkit that will help governments, local governments, ensure that their digital technologies, their digital solutions, their smart city services are accessible, inclusive, and responsive to persons with disabilities and older persons. So in May, we'll be working with the City of New York and bringing together our partners from the cities of Barcelona, London, Ecuador, and San Francisco to showcase how we can be forward-looking and see the future of urban development and be part of the solution and shaping a more equitable and inclusive urban future. I think that these tools, as well as efforts by the Zero Project, ESL Foundation, new partnerships being forged with the Ford Foundation, and many others, really attest to what we can do when we work together. This work is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of us. It's a work that's multi-generational, that our cities allow us a chance to create the future we want to live in. Thank you very much.
So that was Dr. Victor Pineda talking about some new exciting initiatives and tools that cities can use for accessibility. Now, the second accessibility expert we invited is Bastian Peles, who is an accessibility specialist from Ecuador and who has been taking the lead in working with governments, the UN, and civil society communities in conducting many pioneer projects in Ecuador. She is also a private entrepreneur, being a co-founder of Ecuador's only wheelchair-accessible Amazon Lodge, excuse me for my pronunciation, but Huasquila, and the accessible travel agency Ecuador for All. So let's listen to what she has to say.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction and for having me here. I'm absolutely marveled by having met all of you. I was not quite aware of what Zero Project and the conference meant when I came here, and I'm really flattered, and it's an absolute example of this elevator principle where we can see that all the policies that are designed can trickle down to the micro level and how we can scale up these absolutely great projects that are happening around the world to the policy. So yes, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you also a little bit about the work we're doing in Ecuador. Sorry, I haven't done this before with this. I just wanted to tell you a little bit. A lot of people always ask how we got to where we are. It all started with Foundation Amen, which was founded by my mother, who's also here with us, PALIZ, and who's always been my inspiration in this topic. So I grew up like building up this beautiful center we now have in the outsides of Quito's capital, Tumbaco. And here we do writing therapy with children with disabilities. So this foundation was founded in 1989 after my mother had a very bad accident and almost ended up in a wheelchair. She was lucky enough, but through this experience she had this sensitivity and felt that she had to give something back to society. Years after, we received our first traveler in a wheelchair, and by this time, my husband Pablo and I were working on reforesting 200 acres in the Amazon rainforest. So that is when these two topics came together. On the one hand, the environment, and on the other, like making it accessible so that also wheelchair users could experience the Amazon. And today we have 7 bungalows which are fully accessible. Here we have a picture also of Scott Rains. Maybe some of you know him. He came to visit us. He's no longer with us today, but he was an inspiration to us too and gave us many tips on how we could make it even more accessible. From this, we could see that only having an accessible lodge wasn't enough, so we wanted people really to experience everything everyone could experience there. So that's when we made little innovations like these wheelchairs that you see there, which are off-road wheelchairs with which we can really take wheelchair users into the forest so they can do all the treks and have the same experience as able-bodied can. So from this, we moved a little bit forward and created an agency, which is called Ecuador for All, and today South America for All, because we're expanding to other countries. And I would like to show you a short video so you can have a better sense of what we're doing.
Loved it. It's so far Ecuador is on my top favorite places to be so far. The people are friendly. It's almost inevitable that you have to have a guide if you've never been here before, just because, I mean, you learn so much just from the locals that, you know, they give you the history of what happened here.
Ecuador for All is the result of a dream. We decided to create a company where we could guarantee accessibility. The people traveling can travel in a safe and a fun way.
These are accessible tours. We will adapt it to your needs. You just decide to do it and we will make it happen.
I wasn't expecting this.
That was so awesome. Best experience.
No words. Like a bird.
Ecuador is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. Mountains, cloud forests, highlands are very close to the main city, which is Quito.
Greenery and lush flowers and just beautiful everywhere.
Got all the bugs, got all the spiders, and all the bird sounds, which is, it's nice to listen to. It's to wake up to. It's nice to just be around.
Ecuador is the best producer of the best cocoa beans in the world. We visit different cacao plantations, visit the people that work there.
It was cool because you could see what it looked like at the first stages and at the very, very end. So that was really neat to see.
And especially eating the raw plant. That was that was an interesting experience, how it tastes, the way that it's so much more sweet than you would think.
Finally, we also have the Galapagos Islands. We designed a specific route for our clients to be able to get to see the islands. What we do is like we take special off-road wheelchairs that we manufacture, and within those chairs and beach chairs we travel in the Galapagos. So we adapted the tour really to what our clients need.
We decided to open operations, and we also offer tours to Peru, to Machu Picchu, in an accessible, safe and affordable way. Come to Ecuador, book with us, discover Ecuador and the Galapagos in a unique way. We'll be here for you.
So I have attached a few more resources if you're interested. We also had Corey Lee from Curb-Free, which is one of the most read accessible travel blogs, and he's also like giving more detail on the experience he had now in January that he visited us. So you're all welcome to Ecuador.
Thank you so much, Bastienne. That looked so exciting, and really everyone, I think, could feel how beautiful it is to go through the jungle and have no barriers even in the jungle. Wonderful. So this is exactly where we want to take our next conference. Let's explore where there are no barriers. To conclude, we have two announcements by Zero Project partners. They would like to announce some exciting activities they plan for 2017. So I invite Dr. Robert Kasper from the Special Olympics to now share what is going on.
A very warm welcome from my side. I'm speaking here not only as a member of the organizing committee, but also as a proud father of a 9-year-old girl who is absolutely compassionate about sports. In 17 days from now, we're gonna host for the second time the Special Olympics World Winter Games, a movement that has 4.5 million athletes around the world. The second time after 1993, we're going to host 2,700 athletes, 1,100 coaches, 3,000 volunteers, and 5,000 family members, and a lot of media representatives, including a live broadcast by ESPN. 9 sports in 3 venues in Graz, Schladming and Ramsau, in sports on snow and on ice. Some highlights, of course, we're going to have a torch run. It's going to arrive in Austria very soon. We'll have a host town program all across Austria. We'll have 1,000 award ceremonies for our 2,700 wonderful athletes. We're going to have 3,000 volunteers assisting to make this a wonderful event. 5,000 family members going to join the athletes from 107 countries. 800 media representatives, and of course, our Healthy Athletes program. We invite you to share and join on our social media platforms to share the emotions of the athletes. And to conclude, I'd like to see a 41-second video so you get an impression of the excitement the athletes have when they actually come to Austria. Thank you very much, and help us to send the heartbeat to the world.
Thank you very much, Robert. And now I would like to hand over to Claudia WERNECK, who would like to present something very special.
First of all, I will speak off the microphone so people that's blind can know where I am exactly now. This is an accessibility filter. It's a pleasure to be part of this incredible team for my 3rd year. Thank you, ESL Foundation and partners. To discriminate is criminals. This is the belief that brings me here. Each one here is potentially someone who discriminates and is discriminated against without even noticing. People with disability also discriminate and discriminate against each other. We are all the byproducts of societies in which it is still not clear that discrimination is accepted very often. For international public opinion, is it a crime to deny food for a child? Yes. For international public opinion, is it a crime to deny accessibility for a child? No. Accessibility is a human right. Accessibility is the main engine of participative democracies. Accessibility is not an optional extra. It is an urgent investment for the sustainability. Globally, discrimination has advanced, consolidated itself. Our challenge is stopping massive and systematic violation of human rights. In 2022, as a journalist, I created the NGO Escola De Gente, Comunicação e Inclusão, to form a new generation of young people with and without disability, prepared not to discriminate because of inequalities and differences. That's why, celebrating its 15 years of existence, it was difficult to arrive here. Escola De Gente will run the international campaign to discriminate is criminals. We must go beyond the view that because discrimination is also the byproduct of structural violence, individual acts do not matter. It is mandatory to understand that discrimination, even imperceptible, is criminals. To discriminate is criminals. We thank ESL Foundation for the opportunity to launch our campaign here. And we invite it to be our partner by handing out our campaign plaque to Martin ESL for a photo. Is it possible? You are all invited.
Thank you, Claudia.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We all will join the campaign, no doubt. I'm now handing over to Caroline, and we will leave the stage.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Genuinely, thank you for your insights, for your conversation, for your campaigns, for accessible tourism, for being a brilliant business, for your academic insight. Thank you, all of you, for your leadership and closing this beautifully. So a huge round of applause to our final panel. Now we're under very tight time pressure because we have so much to say, but I really, really would hate us to not have His Honourable Justice Bernstein just to join us to give his one or two last pearls of wisdom, Honourable Justice, about what your experience as the conference has been. I know you have to literally leave in minutes, but I am not letting you go without giving us, yeah. So now you're in good hands with me. So tell me, would you like to give us your sense of the last few days and what are you taking away? I know you absolutely blew us away last night, and thank you so much for your contribution, but what did you get from being here?
I think the key to this conference and the essence of it is I think it's important to express thanks. Thank you to each and every one of you for your dedication, for your work, for your passion, and for your sacrifice. I think it's always important to express gratitude to people who have dedicated their lives to enhancing others. And if there's one thing that we can take away from this conference, is that I would hope that every one of you that's here is proud of who you are, proud of what you have done, and proud of what you have truly accomplished.
I think that is... So is there some particular highlight that you go back in your mind, a particular comment, a particular story, a particular moment? Is there something that just sticks in your head as you leave?
So I think that when you look at a conference like this, I think it's really a conglomeration. And it's really the entire 3 days when you kind of put it together. Because I think when you go through life and you learn as a judge, you actually try not to focus on one specific thing. You try to look at things in a totality. You try to look at things in kind of a more grand scheme. And I think the one thing that you can really take from this is that this is a life-affirming conference, in that people are truly good, and that people are doing incredible things. And I think if you ask the question, what is the one takeaway that one could bring from this time that we've been together, I think it's the power of hope and that sense of eternal optimism that no matter what we face or no matter what we have to deal with, that I really believe that the people who are here at this conference who have dedicated their life to this work are going to make tomorrow better than today.
I have to ask this. I know I shouldn't push for another question, but I'm really fascinated about you as a young boy. So when you were really young, what did you want to be when you grew up? And did you imagine your life was going to be this way?
That's why this conference means so much to so many people. And I think what happened in my life is analogous to what happens in so many other people's lives. Is that for the most part, we grow up in small towns or cities, and all we know are the people in those communities. And I grew up in a wonderful town, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, but I was the only blind person in my entire district. And so I think what tends to happen with young people when they're disabled, it doesn't matter where you're from or where you live, but I think there's a certain similarity that exists, is that ultimately you start to define yourself by the people that are around you. You define yourself by the life that you live, and you define yourself by the community that you're in. And it doesn't really matter what the level of affluence of the community is, it becomes a community. So you tend to think that when you're in that community, that's all there is. However you are in school, whatever your social status is, you tend to think that's all there is. And so often when we grow up in communities where we're the only ones that are different, we tend to think, oh my goodness, this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be a leader. I'm not going to have a chance to do great things. I mean, however I am now is how I'm going to be for the entire rest of my life. And I think what's extraordinary is that for most people with disabilities, but I think it goes to the idea of for most people who are just simply different, who don't fit in, who are awkward, who struggle every single day, as you get older, life gets better. life gets more exciting. You meet different people. The older you get, the more education you get, the more opportunities that are presented. You're able to migrate to larger cities. You're able to become part of bigger communities. And then the most miraculous thing really happens. You tend to find that the people that struggle the most when they're young thrive as they get older. Because you tend to find that those who are created different struggle when everyone is the same. But as they go forth into the world and experience the world, they truly get the most out of life, and they, for the most part, have the most to offer.
I think the one thing that is so apparent is I think the good thing about getting older is we don't care so much what other people think about us, because I think that is great about age. I just want a final question for you is, what were some of the most positive influences or mentors? Because like we can't do this on our own, right? Did you have particular people who mentored you or a real positive influence, or did you just do this on your own?
So it's a beautiful question. And I think that what you're going to find from most people that you interview who face struggles in life, it really comes to your family. It really comes to your parents, and it comes to your siblings, and it comes to the people that are around you. And I was so unbelievably blessed because I came from a family where optimism was the rule. And I came from a family that said that you are going to have the opportunity to do whatever you want, to be whatever you'd like. And I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is it comes down to the parents. And it comes down to that energy and that enthusiasm, that spirit that they give to their children. And I think that what was a really interesting topic that we did talk about here was most parents of children with disabilities face the biggest challenge, which is that balance between being protective and allowing for your child to experience and explore the world. And it's this incredible dichotomy that exists all the time with families. And it's a very hard thing to do because the natural instinct of a parent is to protect their offspring. And I think what I learned from my parents was that if you have to go in a certain direction, it's best to allow for your child to go on the adventure of life. There are always going to be risks. There are always going to be dangers. But at the end of the day, the world is a wondrous place. The world should be explored. The world should be enjoyed. And ultimately, when you have parents that err on the side of independence and opportunity, and basically ultimately say, yes, there is going to be some risk with the things that you're going to do, but we embrace that risk. We encourage you to go out and do those types of things, accept the challenge, accept the risk, accept the danger. You ultimately get to experience the world the way that it was created and the way that life was truly intended to live.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Bernstein. But a huge, warm Zero family thank you to His Honourable Justice Richard Bernstein. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
You're the bomb.
Give you a hug. Thank you. God bless you.
Do you want to take my arms?
Yes,
Back to you, sir.
thank you.
And thank you. And here we go. I am going to be signing off now before I ask Martin Essel to come up to officially close our conference. Genuinely, from my bottom of my heart, I always get emotional at this point. Thank you so very, very much, all of you. Truly, you are, every one of you, are what makes this conference amazing. Thank you very, very much for just being a brilliant audience to deal with. Thank you for a fantastic 3 days. And thank you so much, Martin Essel, for making this possible.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the end of the Zero Project Conference 2017. And finally, I should like once again to give my very sincere thanks and express my deepest appreciations to each and every participant in this year's conference. I should also like to thank from the bottom of my heart the members of the Zero Project team and all who have helped them organize this year's conference. Without their fantastic work, their incredible dedication and their tireless efforts, none of this would have been possible. Besides our friends from the World Future Council, I should like to mention in particular Caroline Wegner, Sima, Martin Habacher, and Matthias Noé in Vienna. Amelie Saupe from the Zero Project in Tokyo, Silke Ploder and Erika Maikisch from Zeitgeist team here in Vienna, Thomas Butcher from Zero Project in New York, and last but certainly not least, Doris Neuwirth and Wilfried Kainz. My special thanks goes to Caroline, who also is a very important ambassador to Zero Project, not only as a moderator of all our Zero Project conferences so far. Please give her and all the other supporters a very big and special applause. Thank you. I wish, Caroline, where are you? You are here. Please come to me. And I wish you, for your ambitious projects, to always fight for the rights of the persons with disabilities, in very innovative ways, all the very best, and would like to hand you some flowers. Thank you so much. Caroline, thank you so much. And last, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Then, now, thank you so much. These translators, thank you so much. The painters who painted all the activities we have seen in our 3 days conference. Thank you so much. It was very brilliant. And last but not least, Michael, come please to me. Michael Famebeck, who lives and fights for Zero Project. Thank you so much. Please give him and the whole team another big applause. Thank you. Dear friends, so where we are going now, the answer is really and very simple. We are going everywhere. Each of us must return to his or her home, whether it's in Afghanistan or Vietnam or Bangladesh or in the US or in San Marino or in China. We must take home with us all what we have learned. We must take home with us all the energy, ideas and revelations we have received. We must share it all. For that, it is what all is about: learning new ways, sharing new ways, and teaching new ways. We have been with some of the disability world's most effective catalysts. Now we must be catalysts of ourselves. Only by reaching out others and empowering and being empowered by them we will be able to continue in what we are here to do, to change those mindsets, to change the world for the better, to change the world so that no one is left behind, and almost very importantly, to break down those barriers, and those barriers that persons with disabilities face all the days. And therefore, we have to be ambitious, we have to be strong, and we have the will. I believe that we are ambitious. I believe that we are strong. I believe that we have the will. That is why we all are here. Let us therefore go forward now with this coming year's research to attack the problems of accessibility. Let us attack them as we have attacked the problems of employment this last year and over the past 3 days. Let us engage. Let us be in the forefront of the battle we have decided to fight. With everything we have got, we must continue to break down those barriers. We must succeed. All the very best to all of you personally for realizing so ambitious goals for the better world of all of us and abolishing all barriers to people with disabilities and to change the mindsets in society. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Why don't we concentrate on our strengths and strengths of all the people with and without disabilities? Believe me, with this new approach, we easily could improve all changes and challenges in the world. Isn't that good news? All the very best to you and have a safe trip back home. Thank you.